Hello there. Hey, let's go for a walk. See what's going on in the world. Where should we start? I got a chance to watch a little bit of Tim Walz today. I guess he had a rally in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And he opened up by he didn't have some nice things to say about Eau Claire, which kind of surprised me. He was in front of thousands of people. But he told them up front, he says, look, I want to apologize, but I don't like coming to your town. And everybody just like booed and started hissing at him and stuff. And he said, wait a minute, let me explain. He says, the name of your town is Eau Claire. And he says, every time I come here, I go to the bakery down on 34th Street in Maine, downtown, and I get myself one of those giant eclairs. You know, the kind that's filled with the cream stuffing and it's chocolate on the top. He says, when I leave your town, I have put on about 10 pounds. So I would really appreciate it if you would change the name of your town. Because when I come here and I say Eau Claire, it makes me think of an eclair. So change it or I'm not coming back. So they gave him a pretty warm reception after they understood that. So I was thinking about, I heard something, it was the dog sneezing. So I was thinking about, I think I need a deeper editorial on my comments about J.D. Vance and his comments about the single miserable cat women that are running this country. So I went back and I read the quote. Apparently he was being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has got his own podcast now. I don't know if you remember him. He used to be on Fox Corporation. And what happened was Fox Corporation got sued by a company called Dominion Voting Systems. They're the company that makes these voting machines. And immediately after the election, people like Rudy Giuliani, who, by the way, had his law license taken away in New York, and Sidney Powell, I think she goes by the nickname of the Kraken. She was one of Trump's attorneys. She had her law license taken away too. They went on Fox and they got this conspiracy thing going that the Dominion voting systems were rigged. And so Fox picked this up, and I mean, for like a couple of months they went on with this. Many of the on-air celebrities like Maria Bartiromo, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and of course Tucker Carlson. So Dominion Voting Systems sued Fox for libel. Took him to court, and this took it was at least a year before it actually got to court. So they're in the courtroom. They're ready to start the proceedings. They've got the jury there. I think the jury is impaneled and the judge is about to bring the hammer down and start it. And all of a sudden, the attorneys for Fox Corporation said, wait a second, we want to talk to the attorneys for the plaintiff. We need to discuss some things with them. So the judge said, okay, go ahead. So they talked for a little bit and they cut a deal. Fox Corporation agreed to pay Dominion Voting Systems $787 million, an out-of-court settlement. Now you ask yourself, God, why would they do that? That's the most ever. That's the largest libel judgment in the history of the world. Why would they settle for that? Well, if they decide to go ahead and take it to court, number one, Rupert Murdoch could be subpoenaed to testify, be up on the witness stand. He didn't want to do that. And there's always a chance that it could cost him a lot more than $787 million. So they went ahead and settled out of court. And after they did that, and I don't know if this is part of the deal or not, but mysteriously, like a few days after that settlement, Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox Corporation. So I'm just thinking maybe that was a part of the agreement, Dominion said, well, okay, we'll settle for 787, but you got to get rid of Tucker Carlson. So he was gone. So Tucker Carlson is the one that's interviewing J.D. Vance, and that's where J.D. Vance makes these statements about childless cat women are running the country, And he said, look at the Democrats. Kamala Harris doesn't have any kids. AOC doesn't have any kids. He named a couple other people. Well, with Kamala Harris, the guy that she's married to, he already had 2 kids when they got married. And she's 60 years old, so I don't think she's going to have any more kids. And I don't know when she met this guy, but maybe, I don't think they've been together for a real long time, but maybe she met him when she was like 40 or something like that, or 45. And she said, you know, when a woman gets that old, it's, you know, it's kind of risky to have kids. So maybe that's why. Whatever. So yeah, she doesn't have any kids. AOC is still pretty young. She could probably have some kids eventually. Anyways, the point was, he said that these childless women don't have a direct stake in the future of America. Now, that word direct is really important, because I can't argue with that. Unless a woman actually has a baby or she adopts one, you know, was pretty young, she doesn't have that kind of a stake in our country where it's an actual person. So I'll agree with him on that. But I want to make the argument, I want to disassemble his argument. I want to show you another way of looking at it. And this occurred to me. You know, after I heard this, I had this idea, rebuttal, within probably a minute or so. Didn't really take much contemplation to think about. So here's the rebuttal. This is what I'd say to him. Okay, there's 3,000 counties in the United States, and they all collect property tax. That's how they pay for their public schools. They collect property tax. It pays for the buildings. It pays for the upkeep. It pays for the administrative staff salaries, the teachers' salaries, the janitors, etc. So now, who pays those property taxes? Well, you've got basically 2 types of properties that are taxed. Commercial properties, and I'll just say residential properties as a general thing. I'm only going to talk about residential properties. And when I speak about residential, the people I'm going to leave out are homeless people, because they're living in a tent or else they're living in their car. So they wouldn't fall under this idea. So there's lots of women in this country, and they could be living on their own, or they could be with a significant other who are childless. And they are either living in a house that they're either renting, or they're buying it, or they're living in an apartment. In either case, they're paying property taxes, and the property taxes go to support those schools. And the benefit of that is that's a place where kids can go to learn, and that's really beneficial to our culture. I think most people would probably tell you, you know, it's a good idea to have the kids busy from the time they're 5 years old until they graduate high school. They're 18. That's the public education, is from K through 12, okay? Kindergarten through the 12th grade. So that money comes from somewhere, and a lot of it is coming from women or couples that don't have kids. They're being taxed on property. Like, there's no exemption on your property tax form that says, well, I don't have any kids, therefore I don't have to pay property tax to support the kids in school. And think about it. When was the last time you heard somebody who doesn't have kids and is paying property taxes to support a school, whether they're buying or renting? When's the last time you heard them bitching about that? Complaining about, yeah, I'm having to pay property taxes, and these kids are going there, and they're not my kids. Why should I have to pay for that? Well, look, most people are smart enough to realize how that benefits them if they don't have kids. Because you know what? Those kids are going to get an education. They're going to grow up. They're going to graduate. They're going to get a job. They're going to become productive members of our culture. And they're going to pay into Social Security and Medicare, which us older folks are collecting. My kids left home, my last kid left home probably 98-ish or so. So how long ago was that? That'd be 25 years ago. But I paid property tax all that time. We've got 3 homes that we pay property tax on. And I'm not complaining about it. I don't have any kids in school now, but I think that benefits the kids that are there, and that's going to benefit me in the long run. So this idea, now that's not a direct stake. That's true, but it is a stake. It's money, and we're forced to pay it. It's on our property tax, and I have no objection to it. I think it's a good thing. So this idea that people that don't have children, they don't really have a stake in our culture. So why should they be able to have input in how things go or how laws are written or anything like that? So his idea is just silly, and the purpose of it is to like marginalize people. That's what he wants to do. He wants to marginalize them and kind of insinuate that, well, you know, they really shouldn't be voting because they don't really have a stake in America, so why should they have a say? And this is the game that the Republicans play. The reason they play it is because they're outnumbered. They're diminishing in numbers. There's more and more people that are becoming independents, actually. I don't know about Democrats. I'm an independent. I've been one for over 30 years. And I know that segment of the voting population has really grown. So they're not joining the Republican Party. Take a look at the Republican Party. Look at the Congress. You're going to see a bunch of old people. Most of them are white. There are a few exceptions, but most of them are white people. So just saying, that's my rebuttal to that. Is there anything else? I sound kind of like upset. Do I sound upset? I guess I was a little bit upset. Not too much. Felt like a preacher getting up there at the pulpit. So let's see what happens tomorrow. I don't know. I guess the Democratic, yeah, not the Democrat convention. That's what Fox Corporation wants me to call it. That's what they'll call it, the Democrat convention. Because Democratic, you know, that implies that people get a say in the outcome of something. Well, this last little trick that they pulled with Kamala, that wasn't real Democratic, but the Democrat Party is an independently owned thing. I'm not a member of that party, so I can't bitch too much about the stuff they're doing that way. Anyhow, see how far in are we? Oh, we're almost 15 minutes in. That should probably do it for tonight. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. Well, I started cutting some firewood today. The temperature was better today. It got into the mid-80s, and it's been like 95 here, 98 for weeks, it seems like. And tonight, it's supposed to get down to 60 degrees. That's incredible. I love it. So yeah, I was out there because I cleared all that brush, and I pulled a lot of firewood out of there. And of course, it's long stuff, so I got to cut it up so it fit in the stove. So I got up this morning fairly early and got out there before it got too hot. Did that for about an hour. Then I went inside, just kind of kicked back, did some reading, watched some TV. What else did I do? I did something else. I forget what it was. I washed the dishes. That was something. So I think that will do it for tonight. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night. Thanks again for joining me. Good night.